November 15, 2022. Moscow PD released a statement. We determined early in the investigation that we do not believe there is an ongoing threat to community members. Evidence indicates that this was a targeted attack. November 16, 2022. Moscow PD press conference https://youtube.be/cq48p7eboki. November 17, 2022. Autopsies reveal the victims were stabbed multiple times, and some had defensive wounds. Release. The coroner stated that the 4 victims were likely asleep, some had defensive wounds, and each was stabbed multiple times. There was no sign of sexual assault. November 17, 2022. DM was interviewed by ISP Detective Victoria Gooch and MPD Captain, then Sergeant, Dustin Blaker. DM detailed her activities on November 12, 2022, until going to bed at approximately 3:20 a.m. on November 13, 2022. Between 4 a.m. and 4:20 a.m., DM woke up and heard an unfamiliar male voice saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." She saw a person wearing all black with a ski mask covering his forehead and mouth. The only feature she distinctly remembered was his bushy eyebrows. DM statement. Someone cuz it, from my mind, it's like, I was almost wearing these, like, blurry glasses. Like, it's fuzzy and cloudy, but it was, like, a figure of someone wearing all black. And it was, like, they had a ski mask that was covering their forehead, and their chin, and mouth. But I could see the eye. All I remember was seeing their eyebrows. And I don't remember what their eyes looked like, but I remember their eyebrows. I don't remember the color the eyebrows were. I just remember, like, bushy eyebrows. That's all I could think about. I would say about 3 feet, from what I remember. Again, that could be off cuz I, obviously, probably still a little bit drunk. I just woke up. I don't remember fully. I know he looked at me cuz I could see his eyebrows. I think I just saw one eyebrow. I don't know why or how. DM recounted calling and texting her roommate BF, and she discussed with BF that there was someone in the house wearing all black and a ski mask. DM conveyed to the interviewers that the facts didn't fully make sense to her and she didn't know how to explain everything. Detective Gooch explained to DM that the important thing was to tell only things she knew were true. That's the most important. Detective Gooch acknowledged DM's trauma. DM confirmed. Detective Gooch and Captain Blaker confirmed the facts from DM's memory again. DM reiterated. She saw a male figure in the hallway approximately 3 feet from her. He was holding something. He was wearing all black clothes. His forehead was covered. He was wearing a mask. She remembered his eyebrows. Captain Blaker asked what was covering his face and DM stated, "I don't know, weird looking ski mask. It wasn't like the regular ski mask with, like, eyes and, because I saw his eyebrows, and I think I saw his nose and, like, this part of his face, but I don't know." November 18, 2022. Detectives seized the contents of 3 dumpsters on King Road to locate possible evidence. Additionally, detectives have contacted local businesses to determine if a fixed blade knife had been recently purchased. Moscow Police Chief James Fry says the investigation will continue, with the people working on this going until we come to a conclusion. November 19, 2022. Police say they have no identified suspects and that the victims were likely attacked while they were sleeping. November 22, 2022. Moscow PD detectives continue to look for the weapon. The type of knife thought to be used in the attacks is believed to be a fixed blade knife. November 23, 2022. Moscow PD do not believe the male Kaylee and Madison attempted to contact numerous times on November 13 is involved in this crime. Kaylee mentioned having a stalker, but detectives have been unable to corroborate the statement. November 25, 2022. Government Brad Little has directed up to $1 million in state emergency funds for the ongoing investigation. Stabbing in Pullman, Washington, and the 2021 double stabbing, with 1 death, in Salem, Oregon. While these cases share similarities with the King Street homicide, there does not appear to be any evidence to support the cases are related. November 27, 2022. 78 calls for unusual circumstances and 36 requests to check the welfare of loved ones, an increase from 70 and 18, respectively, for all of October. November 30, 2022. Moscow PD detectives confirmed the victims were located on the 2nd and 3rd floors of the residence. Moscow PD detectives seeking help from residents and businesses within the area of West Taylor Avenue, North Boundary, West Palouse River Drive, South Boundary, Highway 95 South to the 2700 block of Highway 95 South, East Boundary, and Arboretum and Botanical Garden, West Boundary. Investigators announced they are looking for the occupants of a white Hyundai Elantra seen near the crime scene. December 1, 2022 Additional interview. Police interview records. December 1, 2022, 18 days after first interview, DM was interviewed by forensic interviewer Aaron Williamson. DM was interviewed by forensic interviewer Aaron Williamson. DM gave a detailed accounting of Saturday, November 12, 2022, until she went to bed on Sunday, November 13, 2022. DM reported she heard a man's voice, and it wasn't Ethan's. It was, like, "It's okay, I'm gonna help you." She saw a all-black figure about my height, maybe few inches taller, skinny build, wearing a mask. DM texted BF. "There's a guy in all black." DM described the ski mask. She described hearing a man's voice, stating, "It's okay, I'm gonna help you." She again described seeing a figure in all black, about her height or a few inches taller, with a skinny build and wearing a mask. She stated, "I don't remember if it was just, like, one eyebrow or two, but it was just, like, this bushy eyebrow." DM drew the mask for the interviewer. DM reported she heard a man's voice, and it wasn't Ethan's. It was, like, "It's okay, I'm gonna help you." Again, DM described the ski mask. "I couldn't see any of his hair, but I remember seeing like, it was like, almost rectangular, like not the circle ones. It was rectangular cause I remember seeing like, just like, I don't know how to explain it. Just seeing like, this. Maybe, I'd be able to see like, a cross. But I don't remember seeing his eyes, but I feel like his eyes were there. I could just see like, an eyebrow. I feel like that's how I know he saw me cause I could see his eyebrow. Like, if I can see his eyebrow, he can see me." DM reiterated, "From what I remember, I think he was like just, like, walking past that little wall and going towards the kitchen. And I don't know, like I just remember seeing an eyebrow. I don't know why I just see one, it was just, like, one bushy eyebrow. I don't remember the color, like the full shape. I just remember it being bushy." She described his clothing again, stating the male was wearing black long sleeves, black pants, and black boots. At the end of the interview, DM drew the mask for the interviewer. While drawing, she gave a consistent description of the mask and noted the eyebrows. "I don't remember if I saw one or two. Like, it was just weird." Note: according to the defense, DM described the intruder again but stated she did not see his eyes. She saw one or two bushy eyebrows. She did not remember their shape or color. Expressed continued confusion between what was real and what may have been a dream. Initially thought the intruder was a fireman. December 7, 2022. Moscow police confirmed they have received thousands of tips about the Hyundai Elantra. December 6, 2022. Investigators obtained a search warrant for DoorDash. December 19, 2022. Investigators identified Brian Koberger as a suspect using investigative genetic genealogy, IG. Law enforcement then began compiling further evidence to justify a warrant for his arrest. December 21, 2022. Investigators obtained aerial photographs of Koberger's family residence in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. These images were used to assess entry, exit points, surveillance placement, and logistical planning for an arrest. December 23, 2022. Law enforcement drove by Koberger's parents' house. This was part of pre-arrest surveillance to confirm his presence at the residence and monitor any potential activity. December 24, 2022. Officers began physically following Koberger to track his movements. December 25, 2022. Investigators installed surveillance cameras on the property of Koberger's parents. These cameras monitored all movements in and out of the house, including Koberger's activities and possible destruction of evidence. December 27, 2022. Law enforcement retrieved trash from the Koberger residence. This trash was sent for DNA testing, focusing on items with possible biological material from his father or other family members. The goal was to confirm a familial DNA link between Koberger and the DNA found on a knife sheath left at the crime scene. December 28, 2022. DNA analysis confirmed a familial match between Koberger's father and the crime scene DNA. Pennsylvania State Police became aware of the objective of arresting Mr. Koberger via Moscow Police Corporal Payne. The FBI coordinated with Idaho Police and Pennsylvania authorities to plan the apprehension. December 29, 2022. A search warrant was obtained for Koberger's arrest and for searches of his residence, vehicle, and electronic devices. Arrest warrant statement: 4:44 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time, 1:44 Pacific Daylight Saving Time. A magistrate in Pennsylvania issued a search warrant for 119 Lambsden Drive, Chestnut Hill Township, Monroe County, the home of Brian Koberger's parents. 2:22 p.m. Pacific Daylight Saving Time. The magistrate in this matter signed an arrest warrant for Mr. Koberger in Latah County. The affidavit for the warrant was signed by Moscow Police Department Corporal Payne. 2:43 p.m. A criminal complaint and probable cause order were filed in this matter. Law enforcement used DM's prior interview descriptions to support an arrest warrant for Koberger. The affidavit described the suspect as 5 feet 10 inches or taller. Male, athletic build, wearing black clothing and a mask. Having bushy eyebrows. 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Saving Time. Pennsylvania SWAT began preparations to arrest Mr. Koberger. 11:15 p.m. Pennsylvania law enforcement surveilling Brian Koberger.
December 30th, 2022. 1:14 a.m. Pennsylvania SWAT raided Koberger's parents' home. Koberger made statements to his arresting officers. He was transported to a police station in Stroudsburg, PA, and made statements during transport. Koberger was processed, during which police collected information about his person. During interrogation, before requesting an attorney, Mr. Koberger made statements to interrogators from the Idaho State Police and the Moscow Police Department. 4 a.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time on December 30th, 2023. Pennsylvania State Police filed a criminal complaint. Brian Koberger is arrested in Pennsylvania, and the Hyundai Elantra is seized. Koberger appears in court in Pennsylvania and agrees to be extradited to Idaho. December 30th, 2022. Police interview. December 30th, 2022, 47 days after first interview, DM was interviewed by ISP detectives Joe Lake and Gary Tollison in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. DM was asked about Brian Koberger. DM was asked, "Have you seen a picture of Mr. Koberger?" DM responded, "Yeah, I looked him up today when I found out." Regarding what picture she saw, she stated, "I've seen the mugshot one with the vest thing, I think." The interviewer asked, "This Brian Koberger the person that you saw in this mugshot? Is that the person you saw in your house?" DM responded, "I have no clue. From what I remember, I just remember seeing this figure that was, light, not fat, obviously, but more of like a skinnier tone build, and some mask on. I don't know what the mask exactly was. But when I thought about it, it was just, like, covering here and here. I don't know if it was covering his mouth, his nose, or below his mouth and nose. I just remember knowing that he was white, but I didn't know how he was white. I just knew he was. And this knowing there's, like, I knew he had looked at me because of the bushy eyebrows. That's all I remember. But I have no idea what he looked like. I don't like when I looked at his picture, nothing came back to me at all. So that, like, I don't know. I feel like if I saw that, my mind would be like, oh, yeah, that's him, but it just, I don't remember at all." Regarding DM telling BF the male had a big nose, DM stated, "All I remember, but I don't remember big nose at all, like at all. That's like, all I remember is like some bushy eyebrow in all black and some sort of mask, but it wasn't like one of those circle ski masks. That's all I remember." Note: according to the defense, December 30th, 2022 post-arrest interview with Dylan, conducted by detectives Lake and Tollison. DM saw Koberger's mugshot online but did not recognize him as the intruder. Reaffirmed that all she remembered was bushy eyebrows, black clothing, and some sort of mask. DM confirmed she had seen Koberger's mugshot online earlier that day. When asked if the person in the mugshot was the man she saw in her house, DM responded, "I have no clue." She reiterated, "I knew he had looked at me because of the bushy eyebrow. That's all I remember." When asked if she had previously described the intruder as having a big nose, she denied it, stating, "I don't remember big nose at all. All I remember is some bushy eyebrow in all black and some sort of mask." January 3, 2023. Koberger waived extradition in Pennsylvania, agreeing to be transported back to Idaho to face charges. January 4, 2023. Koberger arrived in Idaho and is formally charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary. January 5, 2023. Koberger made his initial appearance in the Lada County Courthouse, where he was formally charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. He was ordered to be held without bail. An affidavit of probable cause was released, revealing key evidence against him, including cell phone records, DNA, and video footage of his car near the crime scene. January 12, 2023. A status conference was held in the Lada County Courthouse to discuss procedural matters related to the case. January 2023 Ongoing investigation. The defense and prosecution began preparing for trial. Koberger's legal team filed motions challenging the evidence. The state pursued additional forensic testing on digital devices and physical evidence. Brian Christopher Koberger. Brian Christopher Koberger was born on November 21, 1994, in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, to Michael and Mary Ann Koberger. Raised in Albrightsville, he grew up alongside his 2 older sisters, Amanda and Melissa. Koberger attended Pleasant Valley High School, graduating in 2013. He then pursued higher education at Northampton Community College, where he earned an associate degree in psychology in 2018. Continuing his academic journey, he enrolled at DeSales University in Center Valley, Pennsylvania, earning a bachelor's degree in 2020 and a master's degree in criminal justice in 2022. During his time at DeSales, he conducted a research study focused on understanding how emotions and psychological traits influence criminal decision-making. In 2013, Koberger graduated from Pleasant Valley High School in Brodheadville, Pennsylvania. He then attended Northampton Community College, earning an associate degree in psychology in 2018. In 2018, he earned an associate degree in psychology from Northampton Community College in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. He continued his studies at DeSales University in Center Valley, Pennsylvania, where he obtained a bachelor's degree in 2020 and a master's degree in criminal justice in 2022. He continued his studies at DeSales University in Center Valley, Pennsylvania, where he obtained a bachelor's degree in 2020. His final assignment was on crime scene scenario and completed graduate studies in May 2022. His studies eventually led him to Washington State University, WSU, where he began pursuing a PhD in criminology in 2022. Koberger moved to Washington State to pursue a PhD at Washington State University in Pullman campus, which is less than 8 miles west of Moscow, ID. August 2022, Koberger began pursuing a PhD in criminology at Washington State University, WSU, in Pullman, Washington. He also served as a teaching assistant in the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology. December 2022, Koberger was arrested and charged in connection with the murders of 4 University of Idaho students in Moscow, Idaho. His trial is set to begin in August 2025, with prosecutors seeking the death penalty if convicted. Key evidence against Koberger: surveillance footage captured a white Hyundai Elantra in Moscow around the time of the murders. Phone records showed Koberger's phone was turned off during the crime but had been near the King Road house 12 times before. KA bar, sheath and sharpener Amazon order. DNA evidence found on a knife sheath at the crime scene, later linked to Koberger's father through familial DNA. Eyewitness testimony: surviving roommate DM saw a man in black clothing and a mask with bushy eyebrows inside the house. Traffic stops: Koberger and his father were stopped twice in Indiana, where he appeared nervous. Legal proceedings and trial updates. January 3, 2023, Koberger waived extradition and was transferred to Idaho. January 5, 2023, Idaho authorities unsealed the affidavit that details evidence leading to Koberger's arrest. May 17, 2023, a grand jury indicted Koberger, allowing the case to skip a preliminary hearing. June 26, 2023, prosecutors announced they would seek the death penalty. August 11, 2025, trial is set to begin in Boise, Idaho. February 24, 2025, Koberger's defense filed a motion to exclude DM's identification of bushy eyebrows. The motion argues that DM's account is unreliable due to her tiredness, intoxication, and history of lucid dreams. Her description evolved over time, making it inconsistent and vague. She could not recognize Koberger from his mugshot. There is no clear link between Koberger and the bushy eyebrows description. 18 months ago, defendant moved for change of venue from Lada County due, in part, to the extensive, inflammatory pretrial publicity and allegations made about Mr. Koberger to the public by media that will be inadmissible at trial. Mountain for change of venue. January 30, 2024. He argued that Lada County was not large enough to avoid the bias caused by the pervasive prejudicial publicity. J.D. Defendant's motion was granted and, as a result, the trial date was continued by approximately 10 weeks. Those additional 10 weeks have not resulted in fading media attention. It has only given the media more time and opportunity to provide coverage to public audience, which is clamoring for answers. The longer the public is made to sit and wait for the facts to come out at trial, the more time there is for inflammatory, speculative stories, movies and books to circulate and more time for prior ones to be rebroadcast, purchased, viewed and consumed by the public. Proceeding with trial as scheduled will likely avoid negative consequences from future publicity. Thus, the court finds continuance is not warranted based on the media coverage. Rather, careful and patient voir dire is prescribed. Continuance is not warranted to investigate the leak of information. Defendant also asserts that continuance is necessary to accommodate the special prosecutor's investigation into the source of the leaks to the media and to impose accountability. With regard to the Dateline episode, defendant points out that Dateline represented that the material came from sources close to the investigation. He notes that Patterson's upcoming book on the crime promises claims to be the most comprehensive narrative of the investigation and evidence to date, and is based on over 300 interviews several individuals, including the victims' families and local law enforcement. He also notes that the Amazon Prime docuseries promises to be told in captivating, tense, and emotionally wrenching detail by only those involved in and affected by the crime. He argues that if any of the leaks came from witnesses the state intends to call or from others involved in the investigation, the information is Brady material because it would serve to impeach the leakers' credibility and may be exculpatory in nature. Degree he adds that if the investigation reveals that other state agents had information about the leaks but failed to disclose it, this omission would constitute Brady violation. As noted, continuance is not warranted where the information sought thereby is mere speculation. Roe, 2014 WL 4,244,336, at *2. Defendant's Brady argument is built on house of speculative assumptions: an assumption that there was leak by persons bound by the non-dissemination order, an assumption the leakers will be found, an assumption that the leakers were law enforcement, Degree an assumption that the leakers, or others who maybe were complicit, will be testifying as government witness, and an assumption that these witnesses will likely be material. Such assumptions are not grounds for continuance, particularly given that there is no guarantee if and when they will be confirmed or debunked. This trial cannot be held hostage indefinitely to the outcome of the investigation, particularly given the very significant chance that leakers may never be discovered. Thus, the court will not continue the trial pending the results of an investigation based on speculation that it will be successful and the hope that impeachment evidence may be uncovered as a result. IV. Order. Based on the foregoing, defendant's motion to continue is denied. Likewise, here, presentation of the proffered alternate perpetrator evidence would pose great threat of confusing the issues because it would force the state to defend against nebulous allegation that perhaps these individuals were involved. This foray would lead the jury astray, turning its focus away from whether defendant, the only person whose actions are on trial, committed the charged crimes. It also presents threat of unfair prejudice, as it would invite the jury to blame unrepresented persons for heinous crime when there is not scintilla of competent evidence connecting them to the crime. Finally, it would do nothing more than waste the precious time of the jury and the court in what is already scheduled 3-month trial. Nonetheless, the court's ruling does not preclude defendant from confronting and cross-examining the state's law enforcement witnesses regarding the thoroughness of the investigation, particularly in following up on and ruling out leads generally. Indeed, the Idaho Court of Appeals recently found in an unpublished opinion that questioning detective about failing to follow up on other plausible leads was relevant to alternative perpetrator analysis. We agree with Emerson that relevant line of inquiry would be to question the scope and breadth of the investigation and to explore on cross-examination whether plausible investigative leads about third parties were ignored or overlooked. State v. Buck, 2023 WL 6,133,215, 23, Idaho Court. Act. September 20, 2023, review granted, October 23, 2024. It further stated that this line of questioning may not include inquiries about the investigation of specific third parties absent satisfying Meister, noting, while evidence challenging the thoroughness and reliability of the investigation might be probative, questioning whether law enforcement investigated specific individuals with no connection to the murder provided no probative evidence. Moreover, with no connection between the evidence and the crime, there is no explanation or justification for the questioning, and it would not help the jury answer the only question in the case: whether Emerson killed James. ID. At 25, the court will apply these same parameters at trial regarding defendant's cross-examination of law enforcement. He may inquire as to the reasonableness of the investigation, including investigating and ruling out other leads. He is not, however, permitted to question law enforcement about the investigation of any specific individual as potential alternate perpetrator without first raising the matter with the court outside the jury's presence. IV. Order. Based on the foregoing, defendant's offer of proof reads, alternate perpetrators is denied. It is so ordered. Stephen Hiplett, District Judge. Dated this 26th of June, 2025. A woman claims she made a DoorDash delivery to the off-campus home where 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed to death, and that she saw Brian Koberger. I'm the DoorDash driver. I saw Brian. I parked right next to him, the woman said while being detained by police in an unrelated incident on September 4, 2024. The trial for Koberger starts on August 11. He is facing 4 counts of first-degree murder. If convicted, he could face the death penalty. Those statements were made by the woman on September 4, 2024, when she was taken into custody by officers with the Pullman Police Department following a traffic stop that is unrelated to the case. Body camera footage obtained by People shows the woman telling the officer booking her into jail, "I'm the DoorDash driver. I saw Brian. I parked right next to him." Just prior to that, she told the officer, "Now I have to testify in the big murder case, too." When the officer asked her what murder case she was referring to, she responded, "The murder case of the college girls."
The probable cause affidavit says that authorities linked Koberger to the killings through DNA allegedly found on a knife sheath, cell phone location data, and surveillance footage showing a car matching his make and model driving to and from the scene. In a motion laying out his alibi, Koberger's lawyer, Ann Taylor, said the suspect was out driving by himself on the night of the murders but that he did not kill the 4 victims. Koberger's murder trial is scheduled to begin on August 11 in Ada County after the defense successfully petitioned for a change of venue in the case. If convicted, he could be sentenced to death. Jury selection will begin on August 4, 1 week prior to the start of the trial. Koberger told the public defender who represented him after his arrest in the DoorDash driver arrived at 4 a.m. to the house in Moscow with a delivery from Jack in the Box for Xana Kernodle. According to the probable cause affidavit, authorities believe that the killer entered the home just a few minutes later and by 4:20 a.m. had left the off-campus residence after fatally stabbing the 4 students, Kernodle and her boyfriend Ethan Chapin, both 20, and Kaylee Goncalves and Madison Mogan, both 21.
Thank you so much for watching this presentation. It is imperative that you take care of your mental health and understand that others can appear normal, but could be in crisis. To be aware is to be alive. 12 Gauge Investigative. See you soon.